Hey, welcome to this week's video. I'm Aaron Ross, and I just picked up the Fujifilm 23mm f2 lens. Now, I already have a couple of the compact primes, the 16mm and the 35mm, but when I'm out doing street photography, the 16mm is sometimes a little too wide and the 35mm a little too tight. So this 23mm sits right in between that, which is why I picked it up. And today's video is going to be an unboxing and just my first impressions. Now this is not a full review because this is the first time I'm using this. I need a little bit more time and a little bit more use before I put together my full thoughts on this lens. So make sure to subscribe so you know when that video does come out. And if you have questions about this lens that you want me to address, make sure and leave those in the comments and I'll incorporate those into that video. So let's get started with the unboxing. I ordered this from KEH. This is a refurbished lens in excellent condition. So when you order from KEH, they have a 180-day warranty. So even though this is used, I have full confidence that this is going to perform well. And if there is an issue, I can always send it back. You can even see that they box this really well. It's well protected. It's the Fuji box inside of another box, but has this massive bubble wrap. I think this is a different box from the original of what this ships in. This is definitely a different box than what I'm used to with some of the other lenses that I've bought new directly from Fuji, but we'll get it in here and see what we have going on. Of course, we have some of the product manual materials and things like that, but the lens is the main showcase here. Taking a look, this is just my first time feeling the lens, holding it in my hand, checking the lens to see if there are any scratches on the front elements or how the aperture ring kind of spins and feels. It definitely has the same good clicky feel that you're used to from other Fuji primes. Checking that weather sealing there, just making sure everything looks good. Then I decided to compare it to some of my other primes. You can see some of the size from the top down as well as from the side. This is right in between the 16 and the 35. It's a little taller than the 35, but the width is pretty much the same. And then putting it on the Fuji X-T3 to see what that balance feels like. Adding it to the lens, it just feels well balanced. It looks like it fits well. So I'm excited to get out there and use it. Now that I have it unboxed, I wanted to do my first photo walk just around the neighborhood, just to see a little bit of what it's like shooting with this focal length and a little bit of the image quality, just to have enough photos to look at some. So this again is my first time. These are not amazing photos, but hopefully I get out and I can do some more street photography in the future and have some more photos to look at. But right now, let's go ahead and jump into the POV of my first photo walk around the neighborhood using this 23mm f2 along with the Fujifilm X-T3. Now first up, I go with this classic car photo. I'm going to show you these raw right out of camera and then the little bit of edit that I've applied to some of these, so you'll be able to see both of those. This is just a stop sign, checking some of the colors. I knew the red and yellow is going to pop in this photo, so wanted to see how that looks. And then everybody knows that this lens has some issues focusing wide open and close up, so I decided to use the gate here as a test subject. So taking a couple of photos at f2, zooming in to see how it looks, f2.8 doing the same, f5 and f8. To me, when I look at these photos, I really didn't see much of an issue out in the field, so we'll have to do some more testing with that and see how it goes. There's this church that is around the block for me that I have always really wanted to take a great photo of and never felt like I had the right focal length for it. So this one feels a lot better, I can tell you that. It feels like it's the right focal length to capture the whole church here. Now, a funny little thing about Chicago in the winter is we have this thing called dibs. So when you get big snowstorms, once you dig out your spot, you get to throw really trash into the middle of the street and claim that as your spot. Now, I think this is dumb. We should all be contributing to helping each other out, but that is what we have. So here are a couple of examples of dibs. I'm glad I have a garage and don't have to deal with that. Found this one funny because this car is not in California anymore. That is for sure. Also, I'm not really sure what the snow removal team was thinking here. They put all the snow right in the way of getting into the park. So now you have to climb over the snow just to get into the park there. Now for me, as I was taking these photos and walking around, the focal length really did feel comfortable. I was able to look at some subjects and find compositions that felt comfortable to me, that were more of what I was thinking. I didn't have to kind of adjust once I had it framed up. It was really what I was expecting it to be with that 23mm or 35mm equivalent on full frame. So now that we're back in the office, here are a few additional thoughts on this lens. And while I was out, I didn't see any sort of issue with the shooting wide open at f2 and close up. I wanted to do a little bit more testing here in the office, so I took some photos of my John Lester bobblehead, and I definitely noticed it more. I took photos with the lens set at f2, f2.8, 4, and 5.6. And at f2, there is definitely some weird focusing issues where it's a little bloomy, I guess is what I'm going to call it. And there's not really a point of sharpness in the John Lester bobblehead in his face or anything like that. Once you stop down, it does disappear. So this may be something that's just about your scenario and what you're doing. And so I'll do some more testing on this to see what scenarios make sense to use this lens wide open and what scenarios not to use this lens wide open. But that is a pretty known issue with this lens. Hopefully they make a version 2 of this and can get that corrected, because they did correct it in the Fujifilm, what is it? X100V. That's the camera I'm looking for. In the X100V, they corrected some of these issues of being able to shoot at f2 and close up. So hopefully we get a V2 of this lens relatively soon. But even with that issue, I am excited about this lens. I immediately felt comfortable with the focal length while I was out making these photos. There's a reason why this focal length, the 35mm equivalent on a full frame, is popular. And I'm sure that's going to be kind of a positive thing for me as well, as I get to use this lens a little bit more. Now, the size and build quality of this lens is exactly what we expect from Fujifilm in this category of compact primes. It feels exactly like my 16mm 2.8 and 35mm f2, so no concerns there. I went with this lens over the faster 23mm f1.4, I believe it is, because this has weather sealing. That's really the main reason that I go with these compact primes, is that weather sealing. I don't think it would be wise for me to spend more money on a lens that is not weather sealed when I know that I'm going to be shooting in Midwest weather here in Chicago. I'm outside taking photos all the time, and if I were to have to be concerned about rain and snow, I would be in a world of hurt. So overall, I'm glad that I picked up this lens. I think it's going to be attached to my camera for the next couple of weeks at least, so I can get some more testing in and just get more comfortable with the lens. So if you want to see some of those photos, make sure and follow me on Instagram and Twitter at I'm Aaron Ross. I'll be posting photos over there more frequently than I post videos here, but you can see those there, and then make sure and catch me when I post a video with my full thoughts and review of this lens. But that is going to be it for today. I'm going to go make some photos. I hope you do too, and we'll see you in the next one.